Namah Shivay. This is Arsonist Fire. I am here on the way of Dharma, and today we'll be talking about Brahmacharya. Please, if you are new, please subscribe and welcome to the way of Dharma. To all the fans, welcome to the way of Dharma. To the critics, thank you for watching. I really appreciate your support, even though you hate me. So today we'll be talking about a very interesting subject, Brahmacharya. We'll talk about it. Before we continue, please like, subscribe, and share the content that you receive from the way of Dharma, because we are trying to spread the cosmic law, the true righteousness, the dharmic law, without any corruptions to it and any interpretations which are biased to a certain agenda that we are trying to perpetuate. So without further ado, let us get started. So Brahmacharya. Okay, first let me start by reacting to some of the comments that I get on Facebook, basically, where I market most of my videos. These are very, very funny comments, and here I'm about to read you one of them. This one was the most intriguing. It was on my video about Tantra. So I was laughing to something that a person said on a Facebook group, and then I laughed, and then I replied by saying, thank you, I wasn't aware of the information that you are giving me, and I'm thankful for it. So this is what they replied to that text. They said that arsonist fire, but you are laughing. It's outlawed, as I was told. It has been used to train people. This is the use of Tantra, by the way. This person is saying that Tantra is outlawed in India. Maybe it is outlawed. I do not know. I do not know. I haven't done such research. I do not know, to speak the truth. I'm not answering to mock this person. This is just a reaction, and I am shocked by the comments that I'm getting from these people. So she says, arsonist fire, but you are laughing. It's outlawed, as I was told. She was told, basically. It has been used to drain people of their natural energy while elevating the one using it, stealing life force energy. Many of the mantras actually do this very thing, but nobody using it realizes this unless it is them being robbed. Hence how I know what it does. The lie is that the mantras are drawing upon universal energy, and they are putting codes inside of it. Air codes, you see, it's universal energy. It is drawing from those you hold dear or otherwise connected to energetically. Now I don't know where this rubbish comes from. How can a mantra that I'm chanting be drawn to somebody that I love? I don't see any of my family members being drained of their energy. I don't even see my girlfriend being drained of my energy, or any chick that I'm trying to make on. I don't see them being drained of energy. How can man, you see these people energetically. The ones that do not do this are the types of mantras that are used to remove obstacles, cleanse the aura energy, and cleanse karma, remove black magic and negative spirits. Okay, if the other ones that she says actually do this draining of energy thing, why don't they drain energy when you are doing good stuff like improving your aura, removing obstacles? Why doesn't it take energy from other people? Are we being told that we shouldn't use Vashikaran, we shouldn't use mantras for enlightenment? Basically, let's say maybe I see the white man ruling the system, and then I decide to use the mantra against that system. So I'll be stealing energy from some of the people. That's what it says here, basically. But I can only use it to improve my aura and remove obstacles, because it's nothing that is threatening the system of the elite. Is it what it is? Maybe it is. Okay, let me continue. And then they say that though it may she says that though it may shift negative spirits or black magic to someone else, I'm not 100% on that part. So by using the mantras to improve your aura, to remove obstacles and remove black magic, you might be shifting that energy to somebody else. Then they are not 100% on that part. Almost none of the practitioners I know from India know what I'm telling you. Though a few witnessed it happening to me, they never put it together, let alone believe it was the mantras from another causing the energy loss to me. Guys, I remember talking with Vignesh. Vignesh is also partly the reason why I'm doing this video, and I want to clarify some of the things that he might have heard me saying in a video with my friend Efe. Okay, so this is what I was speaking to Vignesh about. When you have melanin, basically, melanin allows you to be able to identify, or to be identified by the universe, basically, as part of it and not a hybrid of some sort. Okay, so when it recognizes you that you are something, and you are automatically being connected to celestial beings, and you are automatically connected to the positive energy, basically, because of that melanin. It's like a signature that connects you to the true God, basically. So when you have that signature, you are not going to fall prey to some of the weak energies that this person is talking about. So I don't know, maybe that person is melanin deficient. They don't have a certain trait that makes the universe to identify them. So I've also heard of stories of people being harassed by spirits like jinn, some spirits of the voodoo, some demons that are actually harassing these types of occult practitioners. Maybe it's because they don't have the power to command such energy. So now they don't have that identification, that melanin, that strong power of spirituality, the black dot that allows them to actually control and manipulate such energy. So they get bitten in the ass. Now they try to push the narrative onto everyone else. I do not lose energy when I'm chanting mantras. Instead, mantra is the basis of all my living. I live mantra. Basically, there's no arsonist fire, there's no way of dharma. I'm able to change my behavior. I'm able to get where I am at because of mantra. And it's mostly because of mantra. I do have some other practices, but I do not have any backlash or anything like that. The only backlash I get is maybe when I want to manipulate people. So that negative karma, the one that I'm projecting out into the universe, it comes back to bite me. But in terms of mantras, I do not lose energy. I can chant a mantra of Hanuman and have stamina and run a lot and do yoga asanas, and then life gets easier. So stop pushing such narratives to us. And then an Indian businessman that used to come to me for readings and friendly conversation is whom relate this to me after I confided in him what I discovered about the use of these mantras. He believed me because that is one of the reasons the practice is outlawed. Aghora are often hunted and hung in India for it. There is also many foreigners that visit India seeking enlightenment from a guru and end up missing, often turn up dead for unknown reasons or reasons not disclosed. So guys, the Aghora are the low caste in India, basically. The ones that are outlawed. Those are the people that are being looked down to. The Aghora basically is equivalent to the black man of this earth, basically. Where you have a black man, you will always have racism and being outlawed, basically. So the Aghora, they are black people of the low caste. So now they are being outlawed for practicing Tantra. So that's why. So they have some sort of power. So now they are being outlawed. This is the only reason I'd say that the Aghora are being outlawed. They have occult power, and now this power can't leak out into the public. somebody of a higher caste who claims to be of a higher karma and positivity and purity sees that deems fit to be the one to judge the Aghora, to actually outlaw them because of the practices that they do. The Aghora is a black person, and wherever you go on this planet, you will encounter a black person being mistreated. So this is nothing about Tantra. And then they say the high level of rape culture in India can be attributed to the Tantra practices. So now everyone in India, the highest percentage in India practices Tantra. So most of the people in India, they practice sexual Tantra. They are actually ascended masters. That's why there's high level of rape in India. Very nice. I thank you. I didn't know about that. Nah, man, that's just bullshit, man. That's just bullshit. There's high level of rape everywhere, even here in South Africa, man. And we don't have tantric sexual practices here, man. We only have organ harvesting and money rituals, man. So what are you talking about, man? Even in USA, there's high level of rape, man. People are sick out there. They don't have Krishna. They don't have Dharma to guide them. So now they are raping every level of everything. High level of criminal practices. High level of rape. High level of murder. Is it because of the Tantra aspect of killing? Is it because of sacrifices? Is it because of sexual Tantra? No, man. Just relax, man. However, Tantra is powerful. That's why people see fit that they should criticize this. It has power, basically. So that's why. So without going, I think I'm going to take more time, but let's go into it. Let's go into it, man. I have, nah, man. What's going on, man? So the high level of rape in Indian culture was caused by that. It may sound very off the mark, but I would only suggest to watch a YouTube video. I would only suggest to watch a YouTube I came across for better understanding of the consequences of sex magic. The video, even on the comments when I was marketing the video, I said Tantra is not all about sex. Sex is just a part of Tantra. It is not about sex. So now they are going back to that thing that I was decoding and deciphering in that video. What actually is the problem of this person? You don't like that Tantra? Okay, before I sound like I'm somebody of a low level mind, let's pass, basically. And then yes, and then they say the Tantra you talk of may not seem to do into phallic worship, but it does eventually. This is the same stuff Aleister Crowley, Rasputin and Osho employed on their followers. Now you are crazy now. You are crazy now. I'm explaining Tantra. I'm not employing something on my followers. I don't have any followers, man. Hi. So now I did hear, I don't know if you are aware, but Crowley was approached by a Mason from Germany that initiated him on the spot to talk in depth that Crowley was printing the secrets of their rituals without knowing it. I only share these findings with you as a word of caution to do with Tantra, not to say that this hasn't also been used to save lives. It has, just as it's resulted in destroying or ending a life without that intention being the aim too. Tantra is just a tool. It is not evil. It shouldn't be outlawed. Some evil practitioners should be outlawed. The problem is with the people that are using Tantra, not the actual practice itself. You can't blame the Khan. Blame yourself. Blame people, man. Blame yourself for even commenting like this. I don't know. I don't even care about Aleister Crowley, man. This is what I think. I think Aleister Crowley is a faker, man. But it's nothing to worry about, because my opinion can be false. Because I'm not perfect, basically. I don't care about Aleister Crowley, man. I'm only telling you guys about Tantra, breaking the misconceptions of Tantra, not perpetuating this. Another of of the comments that I got about Tantra was somebody saying, yes, I'm correct in my explanation of Tantra, but Tantra is also about sex. Tantra is not about sex or tantric sex. Tantra is a method. The name, the word Tantra means method or technique. Sexual Tantra is just an aspect or a part of Tantra. It's not all about that. It is not also about that. If you want to go into the practices, some of the practices are sexual Tantra, but Tantra is not also about. You know, man, there's a certain thing that we say here. I think you might have noticed it with most Africans. We say, yeah, man, you just ran out of words when we say that, basically. So now let's go into Brahmacharya. So I had a video with Efe talking about sex. I also had a video earlier on my channel talking about sex is a scam. Okay, my analysis was wrong, or rather what I said was wrong about sex being a scam. Just like I just said about Tantra, sex is just an aspect of life. It's basically a tool to procreate. It may be a tool for some people to keep happy. It may be some tool for tantric practitioners to actually get enlightenment, basically. So it's just a tool. The only problem is us people, basically. So that's what I've learned. Sex, there's nothing wrong with sex. It's just a tool. It's neutral, basically. In my video, I said that sex was a scam. Okay, I'll talk more about it. So today we are talking about Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, another person even said to my comment, they said that he came across my video, but then when he opened it up, he saw somebody reading from their smartphones. There's some people also on another group, they're talking about necro yoga. Now, when I read from this, I'm making sure that the information that I'm giving you is pure, basically, because mind has alterations of the truth. If I interpret something to you or I say something to you, it's only my interpretation. So it might be corrupted because of it might fit a certain convenience in my life at that time. So I'm interpreting it in that way. So I'm making sure that I'm giving you the truth 100%. So every now and then I might read to jog my memory, to be neutral when I explain these things. Foolish people, man. Brahmacharya, it's a Sanskrit word which means pure conduct. In Buddhism, strictly the practice of sexual chastity. More generally, the term denotes the endeavor by monks and nuns as well as lay devotees to live a moral life as a way to end suffering and to reach enlightenment. It's not about escapism. It is not about being sexually unactive or inactive. It's not about celibacy. It's pure conduct. What is pure conduct? It's a way of conducting yourself which is pure. Now let me explain pure. Let me explain karma. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that we should pursue the works of Krishna. How do we pursue the works of Krishna? We pursue a life whereby when you live it, you live freely without expecting any visible physical results, basically. If I go to a job, what am I planning to attain? I'm planning to attain a salary. Isn't that a physical result that I'm looking forward to? It is, basically. So what is that result motivated by? By my physical eyes, by my senses. So now by seeing what I can get from the senses, I'm pursuing the karma of the senses, which will further do what? Entrap me into living the life of senses. Now living a life of senses further makes you forget of your true identity. Forgetting your true identity is the sin of falling and is the sin of forgetfulness. That's the original sin of this physical body. It is able to deceive ahankara, the ego, basically this false identity. When you pursue senses to a certain degree, you get to forget of your true self, which is what? Soul. Then you find people, and you find the Europeans doing what? Basically, they chop down trees to make paper, and then they write save trees on those papers after chopping trees. That's basically the life of the senses. It's constantly deceiving you. So Brahmacharya means pure conduct. So how do you maintain pure conduct? By the 8 limbs of yoga. Brahmacharya also supports the 8 limbs of yoga, which are what? Yama, niyama, which means restraint, basically, and regulation, and what? It's self-restraint and what. You see why I keep on reading from the smartphone, basically, to make sure I remember. So Brahmacharya is pure conduct. So when you decide that you become a renunciate, a sannyasi, you renounce the earthly life, you go into the mountains, not to escape life. We are not escaping life. That's the misconception about it. And this I'm not saying to offend anyone, including my friend Efe. We are not trying to escape from life by actually becoming monks, basically. There's a certain godhood that you can discover by actually doing restraint. What does restraint do? You get to be able to deprive your senses, your karma indriyas and your indriyas, your senses of action, you understand, which are your organs of action, which are your hands, sexual organs and stuff. You get to deprive them of sensory input or sensory feeling, feeling senses in those aspects, basically. You get to go into the mountains, you renunciate, and then when you have successfully enabled yourself to actually restrain and not receive any sensory input from those senses, your mind gets to be focused on spirituality. And when it gets focused on spirituality, you get less distractions. Your meditation is now based on meditating on enlightenment and not on getting your car payment ready. So you understand. So what we were saying also in the video with Efe, we were saying that some of these people, they want to come back, these monks that are fake, basically. They want to come back and actually mentor you about their life, how you can make car payments. They want to mentor you about physical aspects of your life. The only mentorship that you would need from a monk or a sannyasi would be the mentoring of the karma, how to live basically, how to be able to clear our karma, how to be able to work towards enlightenment and such, and so on and so forth, basically. But then these people are renunciates. When you renunciate from the physical, you are actually pulling back your senses. So it's a form of going back within, to focus within. Hence I said that you must do what each and every year, at least if you can be a sannyasi or a monk, or if you can practice celibacy. Go back each and every year. Do what? Do a fast. Abstain from food for a few days. You will see, life will challenge you. You will get to see that the most things that you worry about, they are really not important. You get to feel like you are about to die. Those few seconds or few minutes before you die, you start to realize that your identity, arsonist fire, this microphone, this smartphone, is actually useless for that time, that duration. So thinking of pursuing a life, trying to attain these, getting into fights with people for these, losing your peace over these, at the moment of death, these are unapplicable or irrelevant for your next life. Basically, that's what the sannyasi and the Brahmacharya and the monk were originally there to do. Today it is something else. Even with the Christians, the Christian nuns and monks, they only go there to rape little children and to rape themselves as women. Basically, they become lesbians. It's a low form of these practices, but now because these practices are being practiced by such people, and at the forefront of these practices you meet such scandals, now it becomes as though the original purpose for these practices was what? Was that folly mentality, that low level of mind, and what they are pursuing now. This is not the case. Sanatana Dharma is beautiful, Buddhism is beautiful, ancient spiritual practices are all beautiful. I think we can agree that at a certain point in the earth's development in ancient times, we were not using such things, such laptops, such warm water access in the geyser, such beds as these, such chairs, such everything that we use in the modern days that makes life convenient for us. I think we can agree on that at a certain point in our life, in the human development, this was not so. Do you know why? The ancient people knew that when you overload your senses with too much sensory input, you deteriorate your spiritual mind, your spiritual self. You deteriorate into a gross body. Now you start to work to attain such things. You start to work to attain such things. You understand? You start to go find a job. The civilization automatically is built to actually support sensory input. Now I have to go to work just to live under this thing. Now I can't focus on my meditation. I can't focus on raising Kundalini energy. So now I have to think about this. Now I'm being turned away from the actual true purpose of coming here on earth. Sex is arguably the best thing, and it is important because it brings souls here. But the problem becomes this: when you've come here and you forget your true identity, you forget why you came here. You start to think that you came here to have sex. You start to think that you came here to drink alcohol, to drink and smoke crystal meth. Now sex is no more important in that aspect. Remember, I said that it was a tool and it is neutral. So now the person is using it to do what? To come here on earth, to smoke, to give our children crystal meth. Female children, they give them crystal meth so that they can have sex with them. Now it becomes a tool of manipulation and control, whereby you see a society marketing their burgers and food and furniture and cars using sex. They program our children from a young age by those stories that we give to them to read, that Hansel and Gretel. They use sex to sway their minds, to prepare them mentally to support this system which makes them to stay in power, makes them to give us a virus, and then they say that we must put in masks to survive from that virus, to comply with that stupid law. Now we are complying with that stupid law. We don't use reason, we don't use hope to actually be alive. Now we start to depend on textbooks and our leaders, which is what they want basically. So now it becomes a problem when sex deteriorates people to that, not when when people use sex to deteriorate themselves into that state of development. You use everything that's convenient for you in that specific time period of the earth. You use it to deteriorate and go back to the level which you were previously. So now it becomes a problem. Brahmacharya is pure conduct. It is a living which is what? Which is purposefully formulated to do what? To restrain yourself from receiving sensory input from the outward life into focusing. You are going within yourself, focusing on the things that matter, which are what? Raising Kundalini, focusing on the true pure mindset, focusing on going back to your true self, and focusing on attaining Krishna consciousness. Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha. So that's what basically Brahmacharya is. So now the aspect of Brahmacharya for using it for sexual restraint. Very interesting. Sex can evoke so many emotions. It can fire up dopamine, that reward chemical that you get from your mind, and it can also give you euphoria. You get that euphoric feeling, and that euphoric feeling is the most addictive substance in the planet. Basically every drug in a way or directly stimulates the dopamine release, and then you get to feel euphoric for that specific time span. So sex is among the things that can make you tap into that feeling of pleasure and chemical release in your brain basically. So now, being in this state of sensory overload, being in this state of dependence on the senses, we get a practice such as sex. You get low vibrating people basically. I also vibrate low at certain times. I'm not pure. This body is a costume, and I can use it to either vibrate high and vibrate lowest, and I can make sure that I don't have any attachment to any behavior that I follow. So I use it as a costume. I can do anything anytime using this body, because this is not my true self. So now, sex being in the hands of low level people, they start to idolize sex. They start to speak all those glamorous things about sex, forgetting the spiritual aspect of sex. In the female, sex, too much sex and having too much sex partners will actually destroy that pair bonding within you. Basically, you become numb. Basically, a female isn't supposed to have many sexual partners because it destroys that ability for them to bond. They become numb. They get to experience intense feelings for that person that they are actually having sex with, and being of a receptive nature, the female receives so many energies and ideas and dreams and thoughts of the ones that they have sex with. So they are receivers of energy, and they receive a lot of that energy from the sexual partners that they have. So now, in this new age, this enlightenment age, and the age of the divine feminine, every female wants to liberate themselves. They don't want to repress their sexual side. They get to sleep with even the most idiotic of males, and they collect all this energy, giving us another generation of messed up, stupid people because of the energy that they receive, giving us an unwanted population, which is what is being spoken of in the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. You see, Bhagavad Gita will teach you these things. They can teach you that the feminist is actually destroying destroying the traditional laws of marriages basically. So sex in the hands of such low people is being over sexualized, over glamorized, and being worshipped as a whole basically. So just like with any other drug, sex can be addictive, and when it is addictive, it enslaves you. So the Brahmacharya and the ancient yogi and the ancient monks, the true monks, those that were truthful to themselves, actually knew of this. You understand? They actually knew of this. So now the discipline of Sanatana Dharma was formulated around such living. Brahmacharya doesn't mean that you should be celibate. Doesn't mean you should be celibate. Or it's not entirely based on being celibate. Understand? What does marriage mean? Marriage means sex basically. So when you are married to someone, when you are married with someone or to someone, the true meaning of marriage means sexual union. When you have been in sexual union with anyone, basically you have married them in the right terms. Basically, when we get to the meaning of marriage, it means sexual union. So when you had sex with someone, you are basically married to that person. That's how it is basically. So when you have sex, you are being married to that person. However, on the other hand, why Brahmacharya and sexual chastity was focused upon, when you keep on spilling semen. Now this is what we learn in Sanatana Dharma, and if any one of you guys, whether from the Western or even the African brothers that practice voodoo, whether you believe it or not, it's fine. It's not something which is forced on you. I'm only the person who's going to translate Dharma as I understand it to you guys, my African brothers, and everyone out there basically. If there's no such thing as wasting energy basically, I'm not saying drain energy, because energy, you can drain it and then it will come back tomorrow if you sleep, and if you do prana, you get to feel rejuvenated. Energy is infinite out there in the universe, you understand? So you won't get drained by having sex, and you won't be weak, you won't deteriorate basically by having sex. However, when you get addicted to it, just like alcohol, just like drugs, they deaden your faculties, your higher faculties become dimmed basically, and then you can't use them anymore. You can heal yourself and be able to tap into them, but when you have lived into senses so long, pursuing the life of the senses get stimulated a lot, which are what? The low senses the higher senses get clogged, and they get to be latent basically. They are still there, but they are being clogged by the debris, the debt that you have accumulated, which is causing you to be blocked from accessing your true inner power basically. So now guys, I have some allergic reaction that I'm getting. You know, man, I'm doing kapalbhati and eating the wrong food, man. I'm doing breathing exercises and eating the wrong food. So now I've discovered something. Man, this ain't cool. So yes guys, so that would be what would be blocking you from accessing your true things, your souls, your senses, when they have been dimmed to a certain degree basically. So Brahmacharya, in terms of sexual chastity, remember in my previous video when I was talking about Kundalini, there's two energy forces: the force of apana, the excretory forces that are responsible for excretion, for exhalation and such, so on and so forth, and there's prana, which you get from inhalation. These energies are both what? One of them basically, I'd like to think one of them basically is feminine, and the other would be masculine basically. in yoga, union, going back to your truth self, you must seek to unite all opposites of your character, of your spirituality, of your mind, all opposites that you have. Basically, you should seek to unite them. So before being able to unite such things, you should balance them and then force them, push them to actually be united and give you what you want, basically. So in terms of Brahmacharya, in making sure that you reach enlightenment, this is how practical it is. When you do Brahmacharya, practicing sexual chastity or celibacy, basically. Chastity just means that you are more aware and you are more in control of your sexual life, basically. Or celibacy is, that's what it means, sexual chastity. And then celibacy means that you decide to abstain for a certain period to actually pursue the spiritual rules and practices, basically. You basically, when you ejaculate, whether in masturbation or in sexual copulation, when you ejaculate, there's an energy coming out, not that it's draining you. Remember, there's two energies, the apana and the prana, basically. So when you inhale prana and exhale apana, that energy, basically, within your sperm, because obviously apana will always find a way to get out by way of fat, by way of excretion, basically, and exhalation. Apana will always find its way out. But the most energy, if you want to trap it, you have to be able to conserve yourself sexually, because that fluid, when you spray it out, it should be food for the brain, basically. Or that spiritual energy, basically, for it to actually ascend. But this is just another physical side of it. Every spiritual practice has to have a spiritual side of it, basically. The physical side of Kundalini raising up would be likened to what? The semen converting into spiritual energy and rising up through the spine. So Brahmacharya celibacy, basically, is focused upon converting that semen and sending it upwards into the brain to be the food of the brain, to actually change it and convert it into what we call ojas, which is a subtle form of spiritual energy which rises above your spine in Sushumna chakra, not Sushumna Nadi. I'm sorry. Sushumna Nadi, basically. So it rises through Sushumna. So that's what Brahmacharya and celibacy is for. It's not something to make sure that I feel purer than you, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now we go into Tantra. There's Tantra, sexual Tantra, where you hear of people actually being able to hold back their ejaculation, basically. You understand? It is possible, basically. It is also possible to take water within your anus and come and vomit it outside your esophagus, basically. It only needs training. One of the shat karmas of yoga, the cleansing actions, basically. The six actions, shat karma, are basically for that. Basically, you have to do one of that practice, basically, of taking the water up your anus and yes, basically. So everything needs training. In terms of sexual tantra, there's a mudra, a gesture, an attitude that we call Vajroli Mudra. The ancient Maharishis and yogis were able to do Vajroli Mudra. This mudra, you contract the muscles of what do you call that thing? I know in the female it's the uterus, but there's this thing. Is it Uranus? You see where the pee comes out of your penis, your penis, your sexual organ, basically. What do they call that thing? That pipe inside of it, the one that takes out urine. What do you call it? It's you something, man. It's you something. So yes, and then the sexual fluid comes out of it, basically. You are able to, the ancient yogis and maharishis were able to do Vajroli Mudra to close that, so that the orgasm or the sperm doesn't come out of the penis going outside. After doing sexual tantra, you close that, what do you call that thing, man? That pipe inside your penis, what do they call it, bro? Utensil. Okay, let's continue. Yes, that thing, instead of ejaculating outside, you get to hold it inside and then you draw it, because I just told you that you can draw water up your anus, up through your esophagus to vomit, or sometimes, yes, in the short karmas, you draw it up. After drawing it up, you take it out the very same way, the anus. So now in the practice of tantra, sexual tantra, you get to, instead of ejaculating outside, you get to pull it in. Man, some people say that it's detrimental to your health, it might kill you, but man, it feels so good, man, if you can at least experience part of the energy going up. So in the practice of that sexual tantra, they draw in that energy. Instead of ejaculating it, they draw it in, and then it goes up into the spine and up into the brain. Man, you get to feel like you drank alcohol, man. You feel like man, that's how it feels, man. It's food for the brain. It's not there to actually kill somebody. You know, man, the body, man, is very, very powerful, and there's so many amazing things about the body. In the case of sex, I was able to actually have sex while I had flu. I had flu at that time, and I also had to do a reversal magical ritual to chant a mantra to that person who said that mantra drains people of energy. I had flu when somebody was kissing me. I had flu, and I had sex during that day. I had 2 rounds of sex, and then I actually ejaculated on both those 2 rounds. After doing that, I then went back to do a mantra chanting to remove black magic. I was able to do so in 1 day, basically in 1 day. After doing that sex, that draining of energy, and that mantra chanting, which they say that it drains your energy. Fact or fiction or theory? Scientific. So yes, guys, that's what I wanted to discuss with you in terms of Brahmacharya and celibacy and abstinence from the world in terms of Dharma. Dharma is very beautiful. The true essence and the true teachings of it are not there to actually enslave you. You just find people, and this I was talking about with my friend Vignesh. Vignesh is a friend who you might have seen him on the comments. Basically, he was commenting and he wanted to be my friend. So yeah, it's fine. So he said that what was I saying, bruv? Oh, this is what I was telling him about. He asked me if do we have African girls who actually are into this occult thing. This is what I told him. Basically, most of the African girls here in Africa are actually not truthful to themselves, and they have tried everything in their life. So now their last hope is spirituality. They tried going out and having sex with many partners. Now they have lost that divine spark within them, and they are basically, when you have sex with too much partners as a female, you get to feel a certain madness, because the ego and the stimulation that you got from those comments, that male attention, basically it gave you a feeling of importance. But now that you are growing older and you see everything crumbling down before your eyes, you can't believe it. It's a very, very hard blow to take. So now you can't believe it. Now you have to resort to something else to find a source of feeling of importance, because now you don't feel importance. So what do? They come into spirituality and they fake their way into practicing spirituality, talking all these conscious terms, telling us that mantras drain us of energy, such things. I'm not here to basically pick up a fight with someone and offend someone. I'm just giving you the truth the way it is, guys. So these females, they do this, and occult and spirituality being something that accepts everything and everyone, it accepts even those that are broken. So now they get to feel a certain importance. They speak all these wise words, and they basically think they are the ones. After thinking that they are the ones, they get to, as a way of compensating for feeling as if that something of them has been lost with their life that they were pursuing. So now they try to avoid their karma. They try to repress their old dark self. Now they adopt Buddhism, Dharma, spirituality, and they use it to push their hypocrisy, to be able to not face their true self, to say that they actually do that thing. They actually did that thing that they did in their past, basically. They use it not to admit to any wrong thing that they did in their past that actually de-evolved them to that state of mind. Basically, they use occult to do that. So now when they see a neophyte doing something that would resemble what they used to do in their past, they start to go to them. Man, you should do this and not that. You should be sexually you shouldn't be sexually active. You should abstain from sex. Sex is wrong. When you do this, you do that. It's because they are projecting that darker aspect of them onto the neophyte or somebody else. So now they want to appear as if now they are holy and pure. That's what it is. Same thing even in the case of monks and men. You get to find a man who's a weirdo, one who has psychological problems, and then they haven't had any pleasures in their life, basically. So now they go into spirituality, because spirituality and occult, and this is just another, they all go back to Jesus, basically, to the Lord of Lords and Gods of Gods, which is just a metaphor for occult knowledge and occult practices of spirituality and the true self, basically. So they go back to the Lord of Lords and the Gods of Gods, and the Lord of Lords and the Gods of Gods doesn't reject anyone, because that's actually everyone's purpose, to go back to the Lord of Lords and the Kings of Kings. So when such people with such pasts, such people who are not truthful to themselves, such people who are not introspective, they go back to the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings, and they get to practice the spirituality. And because they are not truthful to themselves, they have a form of denial, and having that form of denial makes them to project their old self onto other people. That's why you get monks that are very, very, they have a temper, basically. They haven't adopted any Krishna qualities. They are not kind. They are basically living a lie, because the lie started when they didn't want to do what? To be truthful to themselves and accept that they are past. they had a dark past and they are actually inadequate. So they try to use spirituality to compensate for their evil, dirty past, man. So it's just that when someone has a dirty past and they come into spirituality, they force that dirty past onto the neophyte or somebody that they see is actually doing some form of improvement in that. So they push that narrative onto them and they try to demonize them. So this is all for Brahmacharya and explaining celibacy and high aspects of Sanatana Dharma, Buddhism, and Dharma in general. So this is Arsonist Fire. Thank you for listening to me this far. I don't want to offend anyone. Please, also I'd like to remind you that celibacy, being that sex releases too much chemicals and euphoria and feelings of awareness, it is best if you can control yourself to abstain from sexual practices until further notice, until you are actually you are actually immune to the addiction of sex, because it's another drug when it isn't monitored. When you leave your mind to be rampant and uncontrollable in terms of sex, it's just another it's another drug. So the person might actually become a sexual addict, and they rape people and they do all these nasty things because of the senses basically are motivating him or her to actually go out and have sex with as many partners as they would please. I'd also love to have sex with many partners, maybe for experimental purposes, just to see and learn more about the female and female nature, because I adopt any personality I would like to adopt, because this is just a body, this is not my true identity, and whatever karma that I do will actually come back to me, and I have responsibility of facing that karma, because I came here to learn and I will take responsibility for everything. So guys, celibacy is not there to be a form of escapism. Escapism in terms of practicing spirituality is just a low form of spirituality. As I've discussed, the two personalities that would be guilty of using such spirituality as an escapism. Yes, there's also many other characters that would use spirituality as an escapism. They are not anything basically in life, so they try to use spirituality to cloak their true selves. So not every guru is a good guru. Most people are fake gurus, but we can't focus on the fake gurus and actually classify the whole practice as something which is of a low nature. Also, what else basically? Yes, that's what I wanted to cover in this video. This is Arsonist Fire from the way of Dharma. Please like, share, subscribe if you watched this long. Thank you. Please keep on continuing the way of Dharma. We'll cover more topics in the future. And namaste. I give you peace, everyone. Please let us work together. Please let us unite in one common goal of true searching of soul and going back to soul and attaining Krishna consciousness. I will also talk about Krishna in the next video. Please don't worship this. Don't worship the Murti of Krishna. Try to find the qualities of Krishna inside of you. Basically, I'll also compare low levels of magic and high magic. High magic is of the mind, low magic is that of the physical, and I will show you how it will fool your senses into actually believing that this is God. Whenever you do something that you can see, basically it fools you into thinking that this thing, this identity is actually the true self. So now I will talk about high magic and low magic in the next video. So now, don't you worship Krishna as a idol. Try to invoke the qualities of Krishna inside of you. So I give you peace. Let us work in unity, harmony, to spread this, to go back to our true selves, which is Krishna. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.